welcome back to Goodness and Gracious.
I'm Christy.
I'm Renee.
So as you can see, we're trying something a little bit new. We're a little bit nervous about it. Some of you know that the NOYC Godcast is done in video format. So we have decided to give it a whirl. Not sure how it's going to work out, but we want to be pleasing to God. So as long as this is what He wants, we will continue. Yep. So hopefully it will be a blessing to you.
Yep.
Renee, we kind of fibbed
to these. You did.
Yeah, I did. It was me. It was all me. These unsuspecting, fabulous listeners. Well, we left in May. We had said that we would see them in June, but we didn't see them in June.
Well, we actually couldn't see them anyway, but they couldn't hear us.
You get what I'm
I understand.
Okay. So we greatly apologize for that. With the NOYC going on and the preparation and the recovery from that, we decided to wait until we had a fresh, recovered mind before we came back to you. You deserve that, and He certainly deserves that as well. We are still working through the fruit of the Spirit, and we are about to tackle gentleness. Something I need a lot of lessons in.
Me too.
So let us remind them of our theme verse.
Okay. Galatians 5:22 through 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law.
That's a very good verse. So I don't know about you, Renee, but I feel like the gentleness part of the fruit of the Spirit kind of gets mumbled over in this verse.
Yeah.
Don't you think? We start off strong. We're like love, joy, peace. And then it gets to long suffering. And we are so unsure of ourselves with that part of the fruit that we are so exhausted after examining ourselves that we come to gentleness and we put forth no effort.
Right.
You know, it's just like gentleness. It's as if we say, gentleness. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that's right there. And I think some well-meaning people often see gentleness and think that it was buried right there in the middle, which it is in the middle, right smack dab in the middle. And they think that maybe it's less significant than the others. Fact is, it's right in the middle, and I feel as if gentleness is key.
Well, gentleness is defined in the dictionary as the quality of or state of being gentle. So by this definition, I would say I have gentleness.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. But I guess you can go on a little farther than that, being polite, having compassionate behavior towards everyone. What? Everyone.
I imagine myself with that emoji with the teeth like this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I read something online the other day about gentleness. It said true gentleness also demands something on our part, intention. Basically, intentionally being kind and compassionate and humble towards others. Now, can we say that we have gentleness?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Kind of takes it to another level,
it
doesn't it?
It does. It changes it, just flips it right around.
Yes.
So if you need to handle a sensitive matter and it requires you to keep your cool, gentleness is the foundation, okay? It has to be the foundation. Likewise, if a situation requires you to take care of business, if you know what I'm saying, you still must have gentleness as the foundation. I think that we forget that. We think that if a situation calls for us to take care of business, we think that we can just throw gentleness right out the window. And that is not the case. It still has to be the foundation.
Right. Well, like we always say, it's easier to be gentle and kind to those we may be close to, but what if someone has done you or your family wrong? Then what?
I got that emoji face.
Yeah. Do we just smile and pray for them, or do we say something back and chew them out?
So what do you think of when you hear the word gentleness? I had to really think about that. I have witnessed gentleness before. I have. And I have been gentle before. But I guess I really didn't consider the importance of it. In 1 Thessalonians 2, Paul is talking to the Thessalonians. It's 1 Thessalonians, so of course he's talking to them. But he is referencing back to how they were treated at Philippi. So he's talking about how the Philippians treated them, but he's talking to the Thessalonians about it. And so in verse 2, he says, but even after that we had suffered before and were shamefully entreated, as ye know, at Philippi. Then in verse 7, he is talking about how even though they had been treated so poorly previously, he says, but we were gentle among you, even as a nurse cherisheth her children. He was saying, we have been treated so poorly, but we are not going to let that be the foundation of how we approach you. We are going to be as gentle as a nurse is with her children, or a nursing mother is with her baby. Now, that's pretty gentle.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about how a nurse is, or you think about how a mother is with her baby.
Right.
I don't think that you can get any more gentle than that. So how do we behave when we are treated poorly? I think that's a hard topic.
Yeah.
Let's take away how we treat the ones that are treating us poorly, okay? And focus on how we approach every other relationship or encounter after we have been so harshly treated. Do others catch the brunt of our past dealings with others? Are we tempted to get even with the wrong people? Which we shouldn't be getting even anyways, right. But are we tempted to do it with the wrong people? I have been guilty of this myself.
Same.
The problem is that you are not able to drum up your own gentleness. Gentleness does not grow on trees. You cannot just pick some when you need it. It must be cultivated.
It'd be easier that way.
I know it would. Like, I want some of this today. Can I have it? But it has to be cultivated in a relationship with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we have tried to let everyone know, all of our listeners know, that it's, first of all, it's one fruit. It's many different aspects of that fruit, but it's one fruit. But we can't, none of this comes from us being able to do it by ourselves.
Right.
It has to be a product of a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, believe me, this isn't always the easy thing to do with being intentionally kind and gentle. Our flesh wants to rear up and have its way. But over time, I have learned in the long run, being gentle and kind with them makes you the bigger person. Now, I didn't say better person, but bigger person. It makes your heart feel better in the long run because you are right with God in your actions.
Right.
Have I always been this way? Not. Absolutely not. It has taken some chastisement and correction from God to learn my place in a lot of areas in my life, and I am still learning every day.
So I'm thinking back to the Sunday school lesson from this morning that I teach the first and second grade, or it's around that.
Yeah.
But I teach that class, and we had been talking about actually we brought it up this week, but we talked about it last week. It was about forgiveness, and you say we're not the better person when we're gentle, we're the bigger person, but when it comes to forgiveness, it's kind of like forgiveness. So I told the boys, because it's all boys. There's 4 boys.
Bless your heart.
Mm-hmm. They're sweet as can be, though.
Yeah.
I said, when you forgive something, because we're talking about forgiveness, when you forgive someone, it doesn't mean that person is right. And when you're gentle with someone, it's kind of the same thing. It doesn't mean that person deserves you to be gentle to them. But it does something for you. Mm-hmm. When you are gentle, when you are showing that, it does something, it cleanses your heart. It just keeps that yourself in a pure spot. Mm-hmm. So just because someone has done you wrong, doesn't mean that you can't give them gentleness, because it's determined by you what you're going to do. Right. So it just reminded me of that. Yeah. So in Psalm 18, David is talking about these things that God is to him. Okay. He is his rock, his fortress, his deliverer, his high tower. In verse 35, he says something a little bit weird. He says, "Thou hast also given me the shield of thy salvation, and thy right hand hath holden me up, and thy gentleness hath made me great." So it wasn't the fact that God was his fortress or his deliverer or anything else that made David great. It was God's gentleness. I was like, that is so
Right.
It's like, that's deep. So if you are honest with yourself, you can clearly look back on your life and see where God has been gentle with you in ways that are indescribable for you. When relaying them to others, knowing full well that you did not deserve that gentleness. So you can look back, you can see. Sometimes when I start talking about the gentleness of God or anything that God's done for me, I'm like, wow, he really did that,
Right.
you know? And it's so indescribable, you know, unless someone's experienced it, you really can't describe. It's kind of like being a grandparent. What do you think? You can't describe to somebody that isn't a grandparent. And the things that God has done with it, you can't fully describe it. When someone can look back in their life and they can see how God has been gentle with them, that's when they can begin to realize. They're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. So I imagine God loving me so tenderly that he is caring for me as a mother cares for her child. That's kind of how I try to, when I'm talking about relaying gentleness to someone else or trying to be gentle to someone else, that's how I imagine God with me. You know, he's just, I've crawled up in his lap and he's like rocking me back. Kind of how I was doing Kari in church this morning because she was tired. In a mother-child relationship, I feel that gentleness is one of the more natural things that happens, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
We may be harsh in other areas, but we're kind of like, you know, with this is ours, you know.
But don't you think you could be harsh and gentle at the same time, especially like with your child or grandchild? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most certainly.
And I think that's how God is with us.
Yep.
You know, when the chastisement comes, basically he's being harsh, but yet he's loving on us and being gentle at the same time.
In only a way that he can.
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So this can seem kind of weird when we are relating it to our relationships with our brothers and sisters in Christ. Okay. But there is a bridge though. The mother-child relationship is the easiest. Then should come the husband-wife relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, yep. Mother-child, husband-wife. So gentleness in a marriage is what I feel God impressing on me. Okay. And probably because I need some growth in this.
Right. Same.
Yep. So how you are willing to treat, this is what I feel that he was just all over me. How you are willing to treat your spouse is going to be a direct reflection of how you treat others. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have watched it with my very own eyes and have even had to ask forgiveness in this subject. All the time, you see Christians that treat their spouses poorly, lacking gentleness, and then eventually you see them treating others with the same lack of respect. It may not happen at first. It's going to be a slow progression.
Like a domino effect. Kinda.
Yep. That's what it's going to be. And you can't like hide it. You know, after a while, you know, if you're treating your spouse like this, you're going to end up treating others
come to
like
the surface.
Yep, it sure will. When I hear someone not being gentle regarding their spouse, for instance, well, we can't do this because she doesn't want to. Or if he would just do better, we would be in a good place. Or how about this one? She or he is not as spiritual as I am, since they do not blank. You can fill in the blank with whatever you want. This is not being gentle at all. And I see this all the time. It saddens my heart. Gentleness loves. Gentleness protects. Gentleness builds up all the time and never tears down. It never, ever tears down.
That's big.
It is. It is so big. And it's like,
because how many times do you see, you know, you do that with your spouse
Yes.
or you see other couples like that?
Exactly.
I mean,
I know. And it should never be.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is if you cannot show gentleness to your spouse, you will not be able to show it to anyone else. Now, hear me out. The fact is your brothers and sisters are set in the body by God. You had no choice over that. the lost that you encounter are also ordered by God. So we're in church. God, Gary has preached it so many times. God sets the members according to how he wants it. So you don't really have a choice. He places you in a church. You don't really have a choice about any of those things. Okay. Now, you could say that your spouse is ordered by God as well. You could say that. But the fact is, you chose that person. Okay. You chose to marry that person. If you are not able to emit, radiate, whatever, gentleness to the one you chose, you will not be able to radiate it or emit it to the people that God says, here, show love, joy, peace, long suffering, all caps, gentleness, etc., to all of these people that have no blood ties to you and that you probably wouldn't have chosen on your own. So if I cannot show it to Tom, gentleness that I chose to stand before the preacher and God and say, I love this person. This is a person that I choose. How in the world am I going to show gentleness to all these people that I didn't choose that God placed in the body for me? I was like,
do you think some people think it's kind of more of, I think I can show the other people gentleness because I don't live with them.
It could be.
You know,
I think that it's so backwards though. Yeah. It's so backwards. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. I was like, God, it hurts me that you have to preach at me like this.
Gentleness is the fruit of the Spirit that demands most from us. It means adopting a position where we effectively place ourselves third on list, putting God and others before ourselves. As Juliet says, what the world? Now, this is definitely out of our fleshly nature. I mean, seriously, who wants to be third on the totem pole? Yeah. You know, by this world's standards today, everyone wants to be first. Selfish people, me included. I always thought all these years I was never selfish, and then I come to find out, wrong. Yeah. Everybody has selfishness in them. That's just life.
We do. It's natural. I think it's a natural thing.
Yeah. But to live that abundant, happy, victorious Christian life, there is a must for us as a Christian. This is a must. Not that there is.
Yeah.
But this will require this. This will require sacrifice on our part, and that's what a lot don't want to do.
No.
Most want to be left alone, be comfortable in every avenue of their life. But as I am learning more and more, there is a such happier life when you try to live the way Jesus wants us to, rather than just being saved and waiting to go to heaven. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that all my life.
Yep.
Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to do that? I'm saved. I'm going to heaven. What does it really matter?
Yeah.
Because you could be so much happier if you do all these things that the Lord tells you to do.
And there's a way of doing it without forcing it. You don't have to force it.
Yeah. I mean, let's get this straight. Gentleness doesn't mean for us to be doormat to someone.
No.
But to have strength and control with how we react. As a pastor's wife, I have wanted to, and I'm being honest here, okay? We're going to just be real.
Do it.
I have wanted to physically slap people because how they treated Gary or the things that they said about him. But I know this isn't how God would want me to react.
Yeah.
I mean, if the shoe was on their foot, God wouldn't be the one wanting to slap.
No.
So I need to be Christ-like.
Yeah.
We are to stay civil and not let our emotions get the best of us. We are to be kind and gentle with our words and actions as Christ.
So I think it's very easy to want to slap somebody when it comes to your husband or your kids.
Right.
And I think that's the sacrifice part is where I have to going to him. Take it to him. Mm-hmm. What does he have to say about it? Because listen, let's be completely honest. If we are feeling such a way that we want to not be Christ-like to people, if we go to him, he will tell us exactly how to handle it. Yeah. We don't want to do that though. We never want to take it to him. We never want to find out what he has to say about it. All the while knowing, I mean, as you grow, you get closer to him. It's like Gary preached this morning. We need to know him. We want to, it has to be a desire to know who he is. Well, when you know who someone is, it opens you up to a whole bunch of, like the closer I get to you, the more I know about you, it opens us up to a vulnerability It really, really
Right.
does, both in both ways. And the more I get to know Christ, the more I am vulnerable, and the more I'm going to have to look at the situation and say, I agree with you, Lord. I'm being absolutely horrible,
Right.
and this is not the way for me to handle this.
I mean, same way in our marriages. I mean, like that always uses it for somebody, you know, that comes and chews Gary out.
Yep.
But what if Gary does something I don't like?
Yep.
You know, how do I react to it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Most of the time, probably not very gentle. So I am learning this. Like I said, I have not arrived yet. I've gotten better, but I have not arrived.
And that's the whole thing of this. You know, Renee and I, listen, we're still learning. We have so much to learn. But I have grown so much working on the material for this podcast. It has greatly enhanced my relationship with Jesus. It really, really has.
That could be why we're doing these podcasts. It might not be for anyone else, but for me and you.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
If the angels rejoice over one that gets saved, just one, I would have to imagine that if all of this work were done for just the two of us to go closer to him, I think that he would be.
I think our husbands would be happy with that.
I think our husbands would be. Yes.
Hey, is it their fault?
Listen,
Maybe they've been praying that way.
all of a sudden, I'm offended. All of a sudden, I'm offended.
You better go pray.
So 2 Timothy 2:24 says, "And the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, and patient." That's what I want to be, you know, and that kind of just sums it up. Gentle unto all men. Over and over, we see a pattern of gentleness when it comes to Jesus. You know, and some of the time, this is what I think of. So I was thinking about Jesus being gentle, and that's the way I imagine him. Okay. I imagine him when he's not very pleased with the way his disciples were, because they spent a lot of time together.
Right.
But this is what I kind of think. Like when it comes to Kaysen and Callan, I was just thinking about this yesterday, because they were like, I don't know what it was.
At each other?
Yes, they were at each other. And I don't want them to be that way, but I don't want to yell at them either. You know what I'm saying? I want them to see, and that's kind of how I imagine, you know, Jesus with his disciples when they're, you know, if they're bickering over this or whatever, you know, he's like wanting them to be better, but still wanting to be gentle. I think about when Peter chopped off the ear. Okay. I can't imagine that Jesus went, "Oh my goodness, Peter, what are you doing?" You know, I can't imagine him doing that. But what I imagine him doing is going over, gently picking up the ear and putting it back on. And actually, can you imagine him looking into that soldier's eyes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And him just, you know, putting that on there. And then what Peter thought, you know, I think that Peter was probably saying,
Do you think
just
he was,
yell at me?
I just want to say, do you think he was waiting for that?
Yeah, just yell at me, you know, get it over with. Sometimes we feel like that.
Right.
But that's not his nature. That's not what he does. Now he did flip over tables and but
you know,
that's taking care of business.
He still could have done it in a gentle way.
Yes. Yes, gently. Because at some point you have to take care of business, like we said earlier. But he's been so gentle with me. And I'm just like, why are you being this way to me? I do not deserve it.
Right. I
There's
think we all
no
feel
way.
that way.
Yes. Yes, he is.
It's amazing.
He has been such a good God to us.
Oh, you're going to show my
Yeah,
fancy
I
pups?
was. Yeah. So
They're
if
just-
any one of you watch the NOIC Godcast, you will see they have,
We're just going to show you.
they have these. Yeah, they do.
In our fancy ways.
This is us.
Yeah.
Can you
Cheers.
see it? Yeah, yep. G&G, goodness and gracious. We will be.
Oh, yeah. We'll take care of business with that. We'll make sure of it. Ours is going to be better than
You will see that we will have. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. And we're not going to be gentle about it either. We're gonna be,
We already
"Bam,
had our,
look at
we
these
already
mugs."
had our logo, our logos, our polos. I almost said pogos.
We almost had our pogo sticks.
Hey, we could get those.
I want to talk about chopping those up. That's an inside joke. You don't want to know.
We'll stand here and do our podcast with pogo sticks.
Yes. Oh, listen.
Well,
We would get a lot.
I'll do that. I'm just saying.
I'm going to show you
God,
my
guys,
gentleness.
watch out.
It's going to be a competition now.
That's going to be a comedy show here.
We hope that this new format is a blessing to you.
Yeah, let us know, please.
Yes, we would like your feedback on this. We have heard from other people that have said, you know, if it was video, I would, which for me is video is great, but I have more time to listen than I do to watch.
See, I watch usually because, I babysit at home,
Yeah.
so I have the time to be able to watch.
So
But,
sometimes I have to listen to things on the way to work, or
Right.
I can't just watch something. while I'm at
I'll
work.
listen
I
to a
can
podcast while I'm mowing grass or something.
Yeah.
So, and I won't watch it, but yeah.
So some have said that this would be better for them to be able to tune into us. So we were hoping that,
Try it.
yeah, that it would work out. And I think, you know, that we may not look back on this first video the way we look back on the first audio. I got that emoji face again with the teeth.
Yeah, that was great. Mhm.
Yeah. But you live and you learn.
Right.
And God's been so good to us. And listen, it's not about us.
Right.
It's about Him. We learn that all the time. I'm so glad it's
I
about
think it's
Him.
said almost every Sunday.
I know, every Sunday,
Somehow.
multiple times.
Yes.
But I think that as long as He's pleased with it, we will
Yeah.
keep it going.
Yep, exactly. And
All right.
hopefully we'll have some guests and you'll get to see their pretty faces.
Yep, I'll be excited
Yep.
for that. So
All right.
until next time,
See ya.
See ya.